Well, the question is, where the heck are we now? The last time I did this update for you guys, I forgot the satellite dish and I forgot the earthworm farm. And I also accomplished some research on the tropical planting guild. So I'm just going to quickly document the status of the first two and give you an update on the research that I've done. Pretty interesting stuff. Now, there's the changes to the eagle's eye view. And I know what you're saying right now. Dave, I can't read that. Well, let's zoom in a little bit. Satellite dish project. Now, in the discussions I had and all of us have had with Dr. Hogan on the satellite dish, I believe these are the three locations where we're going to have the satellite dishes. But let's look at the status on that. Status and plan of action. Dr. Hogan, of course, needs to approve or recommend changes to the satellite dish locations as shown on the eagle's eye view. We've got one on top of the big dune, one by the big pavilion, and one on the hill above the cave crawler. Now, we currently have a dish in the workshop and it needs to be cleaned of lots of lichen growth. It needs a fresh coat of paint. We need to bang out the dents gently, and it needs some basic maintenance and lubrication on the pointing mechanisms to ensure ease of operation. We also need to cover this dish with thin aluminum sheet or aluminum tape, and then it needs to be installed at a location approved by Dr. Hogan. We do need to follow up with Mr. Billy Eads to get that second satellite dish. His number is shown on this presentation here. Next is the earthworm farm project. And hey, Brother Darren, what are you doing here? Hey, y'all, Brother Darren just showed up. You know, Darren Wild, you've all heard of Darren Wild. He wrote that book for us, Our Lord's Bounty, Forest Foraging in Gulf Coast states. Yeah. Well, hey, Darren, I'm just about to talk about earthworms, right? You got an earthworm farm, right? You wanna tell these folks about earthworm farming real quick, maybe? Okay. Hey guys, Darren's gonna tell you all about earthworm farming. Hey, old Darren Wild here. You know, I taught Brother Dave everything he knows about earthworm farming, which he don't know too much yet, but he's getting a good start on it. Anyway, let's take a look at it. Now, what's this? What, a petting zoo? Well, I suppose I love my little earthworms myself. You know, hello, little earthworm, you squiggle and squirm, and if I don't eat you, yum. Oh, that's good. Yeah. You know, I just got back from foraging, and one of the things you run into as a forager is a lack of protein. I'll tell you what, them earthworms ain't good eating if you're lacking protein. But for a petting zoo, well, I don't know. I suppose you could squirgle up to one and kind of get on kind of cozy and all that. Anyhow, it would be very nice if your campground had supply of bait on site versus campers driving all the way down to JJ's store in Repton, Alabama. And on top of that, worm castings is the only fertilizer you will ever need. They're even better than chicken poop. Now, where are y'all on this project? Well, now it says here there's an old freezer down by your chicken coop that needs to be moved to the location shown on the eagle's eye view, pending Dr. Hogan's approval. Now, it is good to have it in this location for proximity to the greenhouses, and the freezer gets buried in the ground, leaving 6 inches above the ground. That's good, Dave. All right. And you'll need to build lean-to, that's right, so the sun doesn't get on it, and a workbench so you can collect the worms and the worm castings. Oh, good, Dave. Now, y'all, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that show you how to do this, and it's so very easy. Oh, man, I tell you, you can literally turn kitchen scraps and cardboard into worm castings and even more worms. And you know what? On top of everything else, you know, when this whole zombie apocalypse hits, them zombies don't eat worms because worms don't have no brain. So that's all we're going to have to eat is earthworms. So get used to it right now. Get prepared. All right. Back to you, Brother Dave. Well, thank you, Brother Darren, for that colorful narrative and thought-provoking insight, by the way. You know, Brother Darren here, some of y'all may remember him. He was up there at Dinosaur Adventureland early on, and he helped us identify all of those edible plants up on the North 40 for our foraging walking tour. And in fact, he was the inspiration for that whole thing. And Brother Darren, you got a book written? Oh, yeah. Our Lord's Bounty, Forest Foraging on the Gulf Coast. Now, y'all go out and look for that, and he said, what? That's your bestseller. He says it's his bestseller. I thought it was bestsellers as well. Anyway, by the way, how many books have you written there? One? Oh, Okay, it's a best-selling book he's got. All right, how about that? You're going to hang out? Brother Darren's going to hang out. He might jump in here again or maybe correct me if I'm wrong on something. All right, moving right along. Greenhouse project. Well, now all this that you see here was on the presentation the last time, but we did make progress in 3 areas. We did do the research on the tropical planting guilds. We did go out and take measurements on all the windows so we know what we had. And I have completed preliminary design work and material cost estimates for a greenhouse based on the material that we have. Now, 90% of the windows are now prepped, measured for size, and stacked in groups by size. I believe Bobby did that. Thank you very much, Bobby. 2 tropical fruit guild designs have been researched and completed. They are a dragon cactus fruit guild. That's the first one I tried to do. And let me tell you, dragon cactuses are cool looking. That's why I tried that one first. After that, I did an avocado guild, and we'll explain that in a minute. We have 1 greenhouse design complete at this point. And I can say without a doubt that we will certainly need at least 2 more loads of these free windows to build 4 more greenhouses. Is it worthwhile? Well, we're going to see in a minute here. Well, this is the dragon fruit cactus guild. You can see the dragon fruit cactus in the middle there. It's got some dwarf papaya out front, elite golden pineapples, yarrow, petra basil, vanilla vine, blue lupine, all kinds of neat stuff, and a wildwood prayer bench in the back. The entrance to this place will be from the north side, and you'll have this little prayer bench to sit on and meditate and pray and just enjoy being in that greenhouse. And man, in the middle of winter, whew, won't that be awesome? Now, this is a look at the dragon fruit guild cost and plants, and this is pretty cheap to implement, only $170 to build this particular guild. And you get a look at some of the plants you get there and the colors that are going to be in the greenhouse. Now, bad news on the greenhouse for this guild. It was simply impossible to build a greenhouse that was bilaterally symmetric for this guild. I tried combining different size windows for a few variations, but let me tell you, this made my brain hurt. You see, the east and west walls must be the same length and height, and the south wall must be the same height as the east and west walls, whereas you get a little flexibility on the north wall because it's covered with plywood, so you can pretty much make it any height or length that you want to make it. Now, there's a table below right there. If anyone can come up with a combination of windows in that group that we can build this with, by golly, I'll send Darren down there and he will eat another worm for you. He guarantees it. All right, okay. So what I did next after this was a little disappointing. I went ahead and put on my thinking cap and I got to work on an avocado guild design. Now, the reason I picked the avocado was because it has a smaller footprint than the dragon fruit cactus. You recall that dragon fruit cactus is 15 feet wide. The avocado is 8 feet wide. And even though I was able to design a smaller footprint overall, I was able to get more plants in that as well. Now, looking at the drawing, you see I designed to a 15 by 20 foot footprint for the guild itself. And by the time I got designing the greenhouse, get that on there straight, we ended up with almost 18 feet on the top and 23 feet on the sides as our inside diameter. So we've got some room to play with in this guild for when we build it. Now, I'll make note here that all plant sizes shown are at maturity. The purchased plants are going to be a little bit smaller. Lesson learned on this project was never engage in heavy thinking without adult supervision or without personnel protected equipment. And I live alone, so here we go. Avocado guild cost in detail. Now, we'll here for this one, I'll go into a little bit of detail on the permaculture approach to this. Our centerpiece, of course, is the avocado, and everything kind of revolves around that. Then we have what we call stacked plants: star cherry, June plum, guava. The stacked plants take advantage of sunlight coming into the greenhouse in the corners where the avocado won't be shading those corners. So we got this extra cheese in there to get some little extra fruit, and they also leverage off the nitrogen fixers, which are moringa and lupine, and the dynamic accumulator. Comfrey and moringa also does a little bit of a dynamic accumulating. These stacked plants also feed off of those. Nitrogen fixers, of course, fix nitrogen into the soil, so you never need to add nitrogen fertilizer. And believe me, fruit trees are nitrogen hogs. They need nitrogen fixers. The dynamic accumulator is deep-rooted, and it pulls up nutrients, micronutrients, and stuff like that, minerals from deep down in the soil, anywhere from 10 to 30 feet, where the other plants dare not go. Now, we also have plants for pest control. That would be coriander, chive, and garlic chive. Now, they either repel the insects or confuse the insects with the smell, keep them from finding the plants that they would normally prey on. We also have our pollinator attractors. That would be our lupine, which is, again, doing double duty, and our vanilla orchid. And boy, if you've ever smelled a vanilla orchid, I smelled one once in a botanical garden, at like 2 feet away from it. I'm like, whoa, what's that? Ooh, that's the most pleasant thing I ever smelled in my life. You guys are going to love this thing. Plus, it makes vanilla beans, which they use commercially, okay? Then we've also got our layering plants, which are all vines, black pepper, kiwi, and vanilla orchid. And these plants will naturally seek, due to God's plan, those areas of the greenhouse where the sun is coming down, no one else is taking the light, and they'll fill up those little areas, and we'll get black pepper, we'll get kiwi fruits, we'll get vanilla beans. Now, that's the role of all those plants in the guild. They have guild roles, and then they have uses for us. For the first four, it's a fruit harvest, avocado, star cherry, June plum, dwarf guava. We're going to get fruits that we can eat and serve to our guests that, you know, they've never had before. It's going to be kind of cool, especially the star cherries, I think. Moringa, we harvest the greens from that. Lupine, you get a bean harvest, which has the same protein profile as peanuts. And oh, by the way, if someone's allergic to peanuts, they'll be allergic to lupine. You need to keep that in mind. Comfrey has medicinal uses. Coriander, chive, and garlic pepper, culinary and medicinal uses. Black pepper, obviously culinary. Cold hardy kiwi, definite fruit harvest. And the vanilla orchid, also culinary and medicinal. But the price on this one's a little higher than the last one. But dude, look at all the different plants we've got as compared to the other one. That's $500. Okay, not bad for what we're going to get here. So these are the avocado guild plants, just so you can get a look at them and get an idea of the colors of the flowers, the color of the fruits and the plants themselves. That avocado, that is what our avocados will look like. Not the big green ones that are kind of watery and tasteless. That's one of those really good, firm, fatty, oily avocados that, you know, I really love. I don't know if you do. The black pepper, I think, is really interesting too. That's going to give us just a splash of these little red peppercorns all over the place. That'd be very cool. And the lupines, I know we have a lot of purple in this, but the lupines, we can vary on that color. And as you look at the lupine drawing, you can see we get some pinks and whites in there. You can get lupine and red, but we do have to get a cold hardy variety if we want them to bloom for most of the year. Moving on. Avocado greenhouse design. Now, it's a good thing I was wearing my thinking cap because it wasn't exactly easy, but we can get a very nice greenhouse with excellent bilateral symmetry and with a chimney ventilation feature too, using just the windows that we have. And I'll explain that chimney ventilation feature as we go through. But you can see I had to kind of mix and match here from the windows that we had to get what we needed. So let's take a look at what I came up with. Now here's a west view. We see from the west side, we have a 23 feet, 5 3/4 inches outside diameter, using 15 of the 31 by 45 windows and 3 of the 31 by 46 inch windows, giving us a total height from the ground in the back of, well, from where we plant the plants at 8 foot 3 inches. And then we go up to the roof, which is a peaked roof, so we get a little more distance going up, maybe about 12 to 14 feet total, all the way up to the peak, which is where that avocado will be. That avocado is the tallest plant in that guild. It will almost reach 15 feet. That'll take about 6 to 10 years for it to get there. So we won't have to be pruning the top of it anytime soon. Here's our east view, and it uses 18 of the 31 by 45 windows, leaving us an inch short on one side. You'll notice on the left side there, the south side, we just fill that, put in a 1-inch wide filler piece, which will rip from a board, and that gets us the same length on both sides. We get the same height on both sides because all the windows are 31 inches wide. That made the east and west sides a little easier. Now, the south side took a little more thought. I knew we have to have ventilation in this greenhouse. We have to be able to open the windows easily. It's nice that we got those sashed windows where the sashes still work. So I really wanted to use them other than going the route of getting thermally activated hydraulic risers or to open and close windows based on temperature. We can just leave these things open from basically March until the end of November, and then have to open and close them maybe a handful of times in the middle of winter when we know it's going to go below freezing. But you see, we use 6 of the 35 by 59 windows with the working sashes for manual ventilation. And with the screens removed, we want to take those screens out there because we want the bees to be able to get into the plants to pollinate them so we can get some fruit, right? Okay. And I also use 7 of the 30 by 34 inch windows stacked on top of those. And that was real close to giving me what I wanted. And when I took the measurements, I saw all I had to do was add a second 2x4 at the top. And that got me within 1/8 of an inch of the height of the east and west sides. That's awesome. We can shim that or just fill it with caulk, whatever. That'll work just fine on that south side. All right, moving along to the north side. On the north side, we've got our access door, 36 by 80 inches. And those windows, we got 4 ventilation windows in the back. You'll notice they're at the top as high as they can be. Now that gives us the chimney effect when we open those windows. In the back on the north side, that'll always be shaded by the foliage. So that's always going to be a little cooler. On the south side, it's always going to be getting the sun. So it'll always be warmer on the south side. So the sun will hit the south side, warm up the air will rise, move to the back, go out the back windows high up and suck in cooler air from up front where the windows are down lower. So we should never have a problem with that greenhouse overheating. And believe me, if you close that thing up completely in the middle of summer with no ventilation, that stuff might catch on fire. It gets so hot in there. I don't know. But anyway, on top of all that, we might want to add a ventilation cap to the roof. And you can see here, I did not do any design on the roof because Doc knows everything about doing that. And it took me a couple of days to get this far. And I figured we'll take care of that, no problem. I figure for the roof, we'll probably use that clear corrugated plexiglass that I think Doc gets for free. Doc, if you get that for free, that'd be awesome. The other good option may be to get the twin wall plexiglass from Interstate Plastics. I did look at it. It would cost us about $800 to do the roof that way. I like the twin wall stuff because it gives us a little bit of insulation value in the ceiling, which we may or may not need. I'm kind of flexible. I can go with a corrugated roof. And if we don't have enough insulation in there, we can compensate in other ways. They're much less expensive. So that's your basic greenhouse design all done. Now I need all you guys who know about building stuff to take a look at this, catch any small errors I might have had. You know, for all the measurements I have, I assume that everything at every step is exactly perfect all the way. Hey, I know wood comes in, it's warped. You get things off by an 1/8 inch or a 1/60 of an inch, and I only gave us an 1/8 inch of play on the windows. That's a 1/16 either side and up and down. We might want to increase that. Remember, this is a preliminary design, and after you guys look at it, I can rework it and make it better. But do look at everything, because you don't know where I might have made mistakes. I did review it 2 or 3 times, and I don't know the things that I don't know, having never designed a greenhouse before. Anyhow, I came up with just some general construction notes on the Guild greenhouse, general construction. You did see all the cinder blocks there. Those cinder blocks from the north end are going to be completely buried, and buried down to the south end to a distance of 2 feet from the top of the blocks, where the blocks are painted black to soak up that heat, and then let it out in the night. Now that burying into the hill like that will give us some very good passive geothermal heating in the winter, cooling in the summer. The wintertime will keep the roots from freezing, and then the summertime it should keep the roots from getting too hot or keep it from drying out too quickly. The only other thing to note is I do have to, we need a rainwater collection distribution system, a passive heat collection and retention system, and active heating and heat distribution system. Those are 3 things I have to develop, but they don't have to be developed before the greenhouse is built. We can do that after the fact or over the next couple of weeks. The reason that I took all this on was to figure out, is it worthwhile for us to get all these free windows in the first place? Well, I remember when they first came in, there was all these different sizes, guys, and I looked at all those different sizes and I thought, man, I don't know, we're going to probably, are we going to get 2 or 3 or 4 loads before we even have enough of the right sizes to build a greenhouse? And then what do we do with the rest of that stuff? Heck, by the time we take it all down for scrap metal, we've just barely paid for the gas it took us to get them in the first place and wasted a lot of time. So I had to answer the question, are these free windows worth our time? That's why I went through all this effort with the guild designs and all that. The answer to that question, well, let's see. Well, looking first at the plants, of course, the avocado guild greenhouse, we can build that because we can build a greenhouse for it. That's $500. Greenhouse material costs, I did a fairly good estimate. It's a little rough. It comes out to almost $1,500. And bear in mind, I didn't include blind screws and caulking and mortar. Those are the things I really can't estimate because I don't know how many screws you need or how much mortar you need to set a cinder block. I don't know. So, you know, I kind of left that out there. It may add a couple $100 to the total. But when we look at the bottom line down there on the bottom, the cost of plexiglass versus free windows, if we'd have bought that twin wall plexiglass to build this whole thing, that would have cost us almost $2,600. So overall, we have probably saved at least $1,600 by getting these free windows. And we would have used some cinder blocks. The reason I say $1,600 instead of $2,600, we would save on some of the cinder blocks, probably 20%. If we went with the plexiglass, we wouldn't have to go so high with the cinder blocks. The reason I went that high with the cinder blocks was you can't put windows in the ground. Just not a good idea. And exposed wood as well. So maybe we would have saved close to $2,000 with it. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing to get their free windows. Let's get more. So where does that put us? Yeah, it puts us getting more free windows. And I'd say at least 2 more loads of windows. And you know, I'll contact our supplier in Florida and coordinate pickup and delivery with Dr. Hoban. Guys, I'd love to drive down there and get them, but 16 hours of driving with my hands, and you know what, I'm going to show up there with my arthritis and say, oh no, I can't help you. That wouldn't be a good thing, but we'll coordinate that and I'll help you guys make contact with him if you want me to do that. Next thing we need to do is decide on priorities for permaculture progress in the near term. Do we go with greenhouses? Because let's face it, greenhouses got pizzazz. Or do we go with the standalone permaculture with temperate climate plants instead? Oh, sorry about knocking on the ground there, Brother Dave, but I just had to jump in for this one because, you know, I've been sitting there while you've been going through all that with your experience and all that. And I got my abacus here and I've been figuring it out. And, you know, y'all get a lot more bang for your buck with a lot less work if you go with these standalone permaculture with temperate climate plants. Man, you can plant almost 6 times as much stuff if you go with doing that stuff first before you get the greenhouse. Yeah, greenhouse is pretty cool. You're not gonna get much food from that. You don't spend a lot of money. It's gonna be a lot of work. So, you know, take the low-hanging fruit. And I done figured it all out on my homemade Florida speckle bean abacus right here. Okay, this thing works. It don't never lie. I swear to God. All right, Dave, I'm gonna give it back to you. All right. Yeah. You need help getting up off the floor? Hang on. Boy, it's a good thing I was wearing my crash helmet there. Thank you once again, Brother Darren, for that colorful narrative, and thought-provoking insight once again. Now, after that, all that's left to do is we need to research and develop a rainwater collection and distribution system, research and develop passive heat collection and heat retention systems, and research and develop a wood-burning active heating and distribution system. And I can take that on myself. I don't have a problem with that. But if those things really pique the interest of any of you guys out there and you want to develop this stuff for us using the greenhouse that we've got, hey, take a stab at it. Let me know. I'll stand down on that particular thing. All right, once again, I will see y'all next week when I'm coming up there to talk to this salesman/engineer about a geothermal heating and cooling system for Dinosaur Adventureland. If we get that, it'll save us a lot of money, but it might be like the giant Hadrosaur. Just a bit expensive, but not in the millions category anyway. Well, we're going to find out. And I will leave you all with just this. You can tune out now or have a listen to my favorite song.